I seldom do this what if scenario because you can never tread the same path again. Since I've made a choice, I think the more important thing is to see where do I go from here. And I think this is something that we will always have to think about. What's going to happen in 5 years' time. After 65 years of life, one thing I learned is 5 years is a very long time. Many things can happen, and we can never know what's going to happen in 5 years' time. So in a way, we plan ahead, 5 years, 10 years. For Singapore, we plan 100 years. But at the same time, you live one day at a time. Hi, good morning.
Hi, morning. Hello, I'm Shah.
Hi, Shah. Good to see you.
Darren.
Darren.
Morning, DPM. Xing. Hi.
Xing.
Thanks for making time for this. I'm supposed to read this out, so it's not my. It's a script. So this is part of your 2020 to 2024 appraisal.
Thank you.
Just wondering, right? That's the first question. Who does your appraisal yearly?
Well, I think firstly the Prime Minister appraised me based on my job performance and the way I work with him and the way I deliver results. But at the end, people will appraise me. I think the people of Singapore, because I do work for the Singaporeans, for the benefit of Singapore and Singaporeans. So eventually, it's the people that will judge how I perform.
Okay, so I think this appraisal will be in multiple sections. So I think the first one we want to talk about something fun first.
Sure.
Yeah, like a pop quiz to know your counterparts also. Yeah. So Shah, take it away.
Yeah, so as you can see, right, you're wondering what this was.
Wow.
Ta-da! Okay, so DPM, you can hold this too. You just want to ask questions and get to know them a bit more through your eyes, essentially.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so I'll ask a question and then you can just pull up the person you think fits the answer best. Okay? My first question is, who is more likely to reply to a text late?
This one.
Busy.
Rather, he sends me text late.
What do you think about people sending you text late?
Honestly, I'm
Especially
on my phone all the
supervisor.
time, so I think I'm okay.
Are you okay?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm okay.
Darren, what about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty okay with
You're
it.
okay
It's
with
fine.
it? Yeah, that's good.
You're not okay?
I'm okay because I'm the one sending text.
Actually, that's true. That's true. But if it's your text, it's a bit different.
Why?
If I see your text, I'm like,
Turn it off.
Turn it off, yes.
Okay, next question. Who scored better at PSLE?
That's a tough one. I think this one.
Okay. Do you know their scores?
No, I don't. I think during those days, you probably don't have scores.
Oh, right,
Or
yes.
At least during my time, it's only pass or fail.
Okay, and between the two of them, who is more of a coffee person?
This one.
Oh, so does the PM drink tea?
He drinks tea, he drinks coffee too, but I think he's more sort of relaxed about what he drinks.
Oh, I see, okay. And who is more of a night person?
Me.
Really?
Yeah, but I think he's a night person.
And between the two of them, who is more of a cat person?
A what?
Cat.
Cat person. Wow, that's hard to say. I would imagine Swee Keat.
Is there a reason why?
No, not really. I suspect he's going to be a dog person.
Yeah, I mean he had a dog.
Yeah,
It's quite a
so
famous
that's
dog.
what I remember.
Yeah, okay. I'm just curious also to know, I mean, between you, yourself and DPM Heng, who is the bad cop, who is the good cop?
Well, we don't play bad cop, good cop.
Okay.
I think we work together, and between the two of us, we always discuss and try to find common ground, try to find consensus. And there are many things we work together, things like future economy. We discuss economic strategies, we sit down and go through the data, go through the statistics, consult people, and we share our views, and eventually we agree and move on.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for sharing more about them. We have another short game. This one might be slightly harder.
I think it's quite easy. Though.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's okay. Sure. So.
Harder than PSLE?
There are two blank faces.
Okay.
Okay, of the two of them. And here are all their features.
Oh no.
So what we want you to do is to
alright.
match the features to the right face. Okay.
Wow.
Do you think you can do it well?
Wow, I think it's going to be difficult.
Really?
Because is it a complete set or no?
Yes, it's a complete set for both faces.
Okay, alright.
Okay.
Okay. Let me see, I'll say that's a problem. This one is, I think this one.
Okay.
This one. Must be this one.
Okay.
Correct, man.
It is correct.
Thank you. Okay, fortunately.
You're right.
Huh?
I was confused about the nose at first also,
Yeah.
but then you eventually got it. Like wow. Actually, I'm surprised you also know the eyebrows quite well.
Yeah.
Okay.
You work with them long enough.
Yeah.
And you have a reference to double check.
True. Okay.
Okay, yeah. I think that's a very good, I guess, icebreaker, warm up a bit, DPM. I think we are going to proceed to talk more about your portfolio, and I think Tarun would kick us off with that.
Yeah. Hi DPM. In 2022, you stepped down as the chairman of PAP's CEC. People may see that as a passing of the baton. When you were elected as the DPM, how did you feel? And do you relate to this scene from The Godfather?
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
DPM, do you watch The Godfather? Are you a fan of it?
That's a very old movie,
Yes.
my age. But at the time, I think when I stepped down from the CEC, it was quite clear it was passing on the baton. And I think it's the new generation that will take over the leadership at the party. But I was not quite out in the sense that I was still in the cabinet and will still continue to do what I can to contribute. And so when the PM or DPM at the time, DPM Wong, asked me to step up to be the Deputy Prime Minister, I was as surprised as many of you because I thought my job is really to hand over to the next generation, to help and support the next generation. But he explained that part of the job of DPM is really also to help nurture the next generation, prepare them well for the future. So because I have the experience of many years in government and also time in the private sector and working the community, so he thought it would be useful for me to continue my role in the cabinet and step up to be to help him in nurturing the next generation and to gel the team together. So I agreed and therefore I was appointed the DPM.
Could you take us through how PM convinced you to be DPM? Were you reluctant at first?
Well, I was a bit reluctant because I would prefer to continue in my role in the Ministry of Trade and Industry because I just took on for not many years, so there are still things that we need to do. So he explained that it's important to have someone that's more senior, that's older, has more experience to guide and support the younger generation. But at the same time, he would keep me in the Ministry of Trade and Industry so that I can continue my work and to finish what I started off and to help the economy recover from COVID-19 and place it in a stronger footing. So I think that's how I eventually agreed to the appointment.
So DPM, I just want curious, right? This is would you consider this a promotion, which is a promotion without a raise or a bonus? Because you have two more things to do now.
Well, I wouldn't think of it that way. It's part of the journey. I think you have reached a stage of life that you want to be able to think about how I can encourage and support the younger generation because the future really belongs to them. what we do now affect us less, but affect the future generations more. So I think it's important and useful and inspiring for me to think about the future, think about what I can leave behind for the next generation and the generation after that. So it is therefore important for us to continue to find ways to reach out to engage the younger generation, to understand their aspirations and what they want and what they are looking for and what they are prepared to do. And they are very different from my generation. I think one of the experience of living for 65 years is to realize that every generation is different. I have my own children, and the way they think and the way they look at the world is also very different from my time. So I think it's interesting and challenging and exciting to engage them and to find out what they want and to see what we can do to meet their aspirations, but at the same time making sure that Singapore will continue to progress, continue to remain strong and resilient.
Do you perhaps get confused sometimes by the younger generation and how they talk or how they see the world?
Well, language is very confusing from the younger generation. I remember once I wanted to fetch my daughter. She's married, so she's staying with her in-laws. So I wanted to fetch her to go somewhere for lunch and so on. So I said, are you ready? So she came back and CMI. So I thought, can make it, so I went. Then they said, where are you? Then she said, cannot make it. I already told you. I said, what do you mean cannot make it? He says, CMI is cannot make it. I said, cannot make it must be CNMI, ma. CMI must be can make it, what? So that's a language gap. So over time, I learned. But every now and then, I still have to text her and say, what exactly do you mean? Just to avoid.
Can you spell out in full?
She'll always come back with an emoji, you know. Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting to me.
Maybe next time you should just spell it out. What's so make it spell it out, you know?
Short form is just faster, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I gather that when I look at my daughter, sometimes I sort of see what she does. She would she would be replying to multiple messages all at the same time, and because many people text them, and they keep replying one after another, and once you reply, another text will come. And so I don't think they have time to spell out in full. Yeah. So I just have to learn their language.
I just want to take you back maybe, I guess, 4 years ago, I think, when COVID struck. I guess together with you're part of the MTF and you led Singaporeans out of the pandemic. Would you say that is your, I guess, highlight of your political career?
Well, I won't characterize it as a highlight because it was a very painful experience, and I think Singaporeans have gone through it, and there were a lot of challenges, and it was not an enjoyable experience. But I should also say that we did learn a lot, and we did come out stronger, emerge more resilient, and we learned from the experience of handling pandemic, managing the unknown, and now we hope we are better prepared for the next pandemic, which I think is not very far around the corner, and it happens faster and faster. The interval between pandemics is getting shorter all the time. But through the journey, it is also a very enriching, fulfilling experience, because the crisis allows the ministers to find ways to work together, because in the crisis you really don't have a lot of time to manage interpersonal relationship. You don't have a lot of time to think of all kinds of all the solutions. You just have to keep moving, because the crisis was evolving, developing, and we need to respond very quickly. And we will be able to work together very tightly as a team, and sometimes we make a decision that different ministers are in charge of different parts of the MTF and the executive on the ground. It also has the opportunity for the political leaders to work very closely with the executive, with the public service. And we have a very strong team of public service leadership, and we work with them, and I think the relationship strengthened over that period. And what is even more important is that the crisis allows the trust between the government and the people to be further strengthened. I think one important principle that we adopted at the MTF is to be frank and upfront with the people. We're in a crisis situation. There will be difficulties and there will be bad news to announce. I remember announcing the first death arising from COVID-19. It was very painful, very difficult, but we had to be frank. So we wasted no time in sharing the information so as to prevent rumors from going around. Because we were able to be upfront, to be frank, good news or bad news, we tell it as it is. And so people trusted our press conferences. They wait for the real news from the government rather than to spread rumors and to listen to rumors. I think that is very important in a crisis situation, and that helps to build the trust between the people and the government. But again, as I said, it's a painful experience, and I hope it will never happen again. And I wish it didn't happen, but in reality, I think pandemic will happen again and again, and it will get more and more severe with each pandemic. So we must always be ready.
You became an MP in 2001. What is it like being invited to become an MP, and what is the process like?
One of the biggest thing about being an MP is really you will need to spend a lot of time on the ground, engaging your constituents and getting to know them and understanding what they need and how we can help to meet their needs and their aspirations. And you end up spending less time with the family, and therefore I spend a lot of time talking to my wife, preparing my children, because at that time they were still young, and so that they understand what it involves, and I will be spending less time with them and more time in the community. And this is the internal process. But at the same time, I've never been in politics. I've never thought about getting into politics because I was doing my in the private sector, doing my thing, doing my job, and it's quite an exciting job. So this shift is something that I will need to learn. I will need to acquire political skills and to see how I can contribute to the political system and to contribute to building Singapore in the future. I think eventually I accepted the invitation and became an MP. First I was a backbencher MP, and that has been very useful because then I can see how MPs work on the ground is like, and focusing on serving the people individually. But at the same time, in a way, surprisingly, it's a plus for the family in a way, because when I was in the private sector, I traveled very often. I was looking after international operations. I have to visit our operations globally. And I usually will travel at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, sometimes just go and come back. So I'm away most of the time. But since joining politics, I told my boss I will continue to do my job, but I can't travel as much as before. So I will have to delegate a lot of my traveling. And as a result of that, I'm at home more often. At least I'm in the community in the day, in the evening, but my children and my wife knows that at night I will come back because I'm home more often than before. Of course, I still need to travel from time to time, but much less than before. So in a way, I have less time at home, but I'm home most evenings, more evenings than before.
Actually, I have a question. Actually, I'm asking for a friend. I mean, what is the? I mean, now that you're DPM, I'm sure you're involved in the process, interview process also. Just wondering how many rounds will there be, and how long is this session? And who?
Sure, you're asking for a friend.
You're asking for a friend, yeah.
Okay.
The entire process, I suppose.
Would you like to join the process?
No, I'm asking for someone who has a political ambition. No, me. Yeah.
There are many rounds. First, I think you will be seen to be already working and contributing to the society, to the community, or you're doing well in the business, in your private practices and so on. So you are likely to be already known to the MPs or the ministers because of your work on the ground. So it is very unlikely that someone have never done community service before and suddenly said, I want to be an MP. So usually you would have a heart for the people, you would have been serving on the ground, and it's quite common that we get to notice them. And sometimes, of course, people will introduce, like you introduce a friend to us, and we'll take a look at him, and you know that, well, this one is probably not just aspiration, but also really have a heart to serve people. And then we'll go through the process. And once you are sort of identified and picked up that you have a potential to be MP, then we put you through the process. The Member of Parliament on the ground will talk to you, engage you, and sometimes even before we put you up for interviews and so on, we will ask you to help to serve the ground and to see and to observe whether you truly have a heart for the people. That's the most important criteria. Because if you don't have a heart for the people, then it's going to be very difficult. Even if you are able to be elected, it's not sustainable because you do need to be committed to serve the people. So once you are the Member of Parliament or our grassroots leaders are convinced that you have the heart to serve and you're able to serve and engage the people, then they will introduce to the party, then we will go through the process. And there will be several rounds of assessment. Sometimes the first round you may perform very well, but in interviews, sometimes you do well, sometimes you don't. And sometimes the first round may not do very well. So we go for the second round, and sometimes we may need to go to the third round just to be sure that you say who you are, and it's not the performance at the interview, but it reflects truly what you are and who you are. And then after that, then we go through a more formal selection committee, and then all those that have gone through the T sessions, we call it, will then be put through these formal interviews with a panel, and we have many questions that will be put to the candidate. The idea is not really to grill you, but really to better understand who you are and whether you are suitable for the job. And some will be selected, some may not. And those who are not selected doesn't mean that you are no good. It's just that you may not be cut out for political work. So there are many aspects that we will have to test through that process. And then eventually, then the party will then finally decide who to put on the slate to stand as candidate. So it's a long process, and it's in a way, when I tell people, people don't believe. It's a continuous process. Right after the election, polling day, the process starts the next day. And we will be calling people in for the interview and so on. Some may not be ready this round, we then may prepare them for the next round, for future rounds. So I think it's an ongoing process. So if your friend has any interest, can always email to me, and I'll give you the email later.
Okay, I'll just take a mental on that. Actually, on that note, right, DPM, is the party finding it hard to attract talents nowadays? I mean, because of the nature of the work, right? Because you need to put your life out there. Yeah, cannot be so private anymore. So is that a challenge now?
The challenge has always been there, and it's increasingly even more challenging, as you pointed out. And I think the public exposure is one. The loss of privacy, particularly not so much for the candidate, because it is to be expected. I mean, you can't be a MP in the background. As MP, you have to be in the forefront, talk to people, and you must expect that there will be public exposure. But it's more for the family members, because they are not the politician, and some of them, the spouses may be, or the children may be a very private person. So I think it's not so easy. So in addition to convincing the candidate, you have to convince the family so that they are prepared to make the sacrifices and to serve the people. So I think it's not so easy, and very often you find that the people that we talk to, that we want to recruit, are successful people in their own right, whether they are community leaders, whether they are business leaders or civil servants and so on. They are successful in their own right, and when they're successful, they always feel that I'm already contributing to Singapore in my own way. Whether I'm doing business, I do donations, I do social responsibility services, and if I'm in government, I'm already doing the government's work. And if I'm in the community, I'm already serving the people, and I can continue to do that, and I can continue to do that very well. And so what's the need? Why is there a need to come forward to be an MP? So it's not easy to convince them, but I always persuade them by saying that it's very different when you do it in your own a circle, in your own within your own network. It's very different when you step up as a leader of the country, because you decide to collectively, you decide the direction of where Singapore is going, and not just individuals, not just small groups, but collectively where we are going and what we are going to do for the next generation, the future generation. And you will play a very important part in charting the direction of Singapore. I think that's the only way that we can convince them to step out of their comfort zone and to take on something that they are totally unfamiliar with. And there's always a risk, and sometimes it works, sometimes it may not work, and we just have to be honest with each other. And similarly, when I was recruited, I told the party leadership that, I don't know whether it will work out, because I've never done politics before, and they have never seen me do politics before. So I said that if I cannot perform, if it doesn't work, please let me know, so that we can come together and make a decision. So because it doesn't make sense to continue if it doesn't work out. So there's always this risk. But I think the fruits of your work is worth the risk that you take, because it's about the future of Singapore. So I think all of us should do what we can, contribute our a part, and to help to bring Singapore forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm happy to let you know that that friend is okay to be.
Friend.
Yeah, he's not a private person. Very public. It's okay.
So you just texted her.
Under the table.
I think, Alicia, you have quite a cheeky question to ask.
I have quite a cheeky question. How you know you look at the script, right? Okay, but actually no, I have another question. Actually.
Okay,
I'm quite
sure.
curious. Because you did mention that politics was never in your mind, right? So what actually convinced you to eventually accept that invitation?
Well, when I was asked, I think I gave the same answer that, I think where I am, I'm working on the ground. I was one of the founders for Care Corner Services. So that's already working in the community. I'm very happy to continue to work with them as I do my part. And I think the party told me that I think it's important for you to also step up, look at the broad picture, and to see how we can help. At that time, I never had in my mind to be an office holder. I'm quite happy to do my part as a backbencher, share my views, talk about what is important to my generation. At that time, I was still very young. My generation of people, and to see how we can craft policies together. So at that time, the focus was on being an MP, serving the ground, attending to the needs of the people.
So when you eventually became an office holder, how did you feel?
When the PM at the time asked me to join his cabinet when he became a PM, I said I'm very happy where I was, working in a company and contributing to the economy of Singapore. So I'm very happy as a backbencher. Then the same thing, he explained that he needed a team going forward, and he needed a strong team to give Singapore the best chance of success, and not just my company's success, but the success of Singapore. And but to be clear, he never promised me that I will become a minister, and he made it very clear that I'll be appointed a Minister of State, and whether it works or not, we will have to see. So I think that was very clear understanding. So I decided, okay, it's okay, I will give it a try. And if it doesn't work out, as I said, please let me know if it doesn't work out, so we can make plans and see, and let the best person take the job. So I think that was the understanding that we went in. So we were never given the assurance that it would succeed. So that's politics.
Right, okay. Should let your friend know about this. Important. Unpredictable, essentially. Okay, so yes, I do have a cheeky question. First, I would like you to watch this video.
Oh.
Okay, very important video. Okay.
And that's why every few years or so, we have to do a thorough and proactive review of our rules and processes and prune them back where possible. We have an excellent civil service who can do this work, but sometimes there are difficult trade-offs to be made. Relaxing some rules also means accepting more risk, and Singaporeans need to understand and support these changes. So I have asked DPM Gan Yong to oversee this work.
How do you feel when SMTO actually touched your bicep?
Well, I felt reassured because I do need the support of all the ministries, and SMTO was my senior. He was in the politics way before me, and I still look up to him as a mentor and to guide me in my work. And this regulation review, we have been thinking about it for some time, and over time, as PM mentioned, all the rules are well-intentioned, and each of them has a purpose. And as we put them on, we want to achieve something. But over time, the rules overlap one another. So every now and then, we do need to prune them. I must tell you a story. This is a bit long, but bear with me. I was in the private sector. We did almost the same thing. Every few years, we carry out a review. And this review that we did was actually looking at trimming the reports that people have to submit. So we have thousands of reports that are submitted every day, every month. So we asked a consultant to help us trim them. So the analysis came back, and the conclusion was that actually among the thousands of reports, very few were read. So we asked, then why were these reports set up for? Who eventually bothers with these reports? Then we investigated, we found that many of these reports were added on when we did a project. We want to study how this process works, so we want to streamline the process. So we collect data, and we set up a process to have reports submitted to do analysis. So once the project is finished, the system is optimized, but we forgot to tell them to stop reporting. So they continue to report year after year, and eventually we decided that 90% of the reporting can be dispensed with, so we decided to trim them. So I think it's a similar process. I think everyone has a good purpose, has an intention, but over time it may become more cumbersome. And I think PM is right that the civil service does that all the time. So they have regular reviews and so on, but it will always come a point where you need to trade off. There will always be some risks, because if you really want to make it risk-free, the whole thing will just not move. It will just come to a grinding halt. So I think, therefore, you need to strike a balance. And sometimes this balance has to be done by politicians to take into account the impact on the ground, the impact of businesses, the impact of individuals, and balance it with the need to regulate, and so that you can strike a careful, calibrated balance. And this way, I think we have enough rules to ensure safety, to make sure that they are properly regulated to minimize unintended outcome, but at the same time, enough room for flexibility, for creativity, and for things to move faster and more smooth. I think this is a balance that will require some political oversight, but the civil service still continue to play a very important role, and they will be part of the team to review some of the processes and to see how we can streamline them.
And on top of being the DPM, you're also the Minister for Trade and Industry. What are the key priorities for Singapore's economic growth over the next 5 years?
We call it GUTSI. GUTSI stands for, first, G for growth. We want to grow our economy, continue to look for new opportunities, new markets, new business, new models, and so on. U stands for unlock, unlocking our resources. T stands for transformation. We know that our industries, the world is changing, evolving very quickly. And therefore, it's important for our businesses, our companies to also evolve. And then C is C. C for Keat. C is connectivity. You want to connect to our partners because we are very small. And our strength really is in our connectivity. And I remember someone who met me in New Zealand. He's not from Singapore, he's from elsewhere. We are having a group meeting among ministers in New Zealand. He said that he took the trouble to travel to Singapore in order to catch a flight to New Zealand because of the connectivity that we have. So I think it's very important for us to be connected to the rest of the world, not just by Singapore Airlines, but also through our trade agreements, through our partnership relationship with the different countries, different economies. So gutsy is our strategy, but I can see that you are a little bit puzzled and a bit lost when we go through this quite boring subject of how to grow the economy. So let me give you an analogy. The young people today travel a lot, and sometimes I bring my children for short holidays, long holidays, and sometimes they go without me because they have their own adventures and so on. So growing economy is like going on a journey, and you do want to explore different places, different destinations, so you want to develop new markets, and therefore you go to places that you have not been before. So the untrodden path, for example, you want to try out different things. So we will encourage our young people to explore, and at the same time we want to encourage our businesses to also explore new opportunities. And unlocking resources, even if you travel, you know your resources are always limited. Money is always limited, and you want to stretch your dollar. And time is also very limited. You need to apply leave. So you want to stretch and maximize the time that you spend. You will look for the fastest mode of transport and go to see as many places as possible, as much experience as possible. So unlocking resources is the same. How do I maximize my resources when I go on a travel? And then transformation is also has a different aspect of travel, because you may go to big cities, Paris for the Olympics, for example, and Seoul to see the drama places, and so on. Right? And Japan, with the yen, is relatively cheap. Many people go to Japan for holiday. And Malaysia has always been a favorite destination. But in addition to going to these places, you might want to try different things like trekking, mountain climbing, like cycling holiday. So transformation, do different things differently. Don't keep doing the same thing. So this is a bit like transforming our businesses. Don't keep doing the same business as before. Don't keep doing the physical sales and go on e-commerce, for example. This is part and parcel of transformation. And connectivity, the last part is very obvious. Without connectivity, you can't go anywhere. So you do want to find different ways of connecting. Sometimes you travel by air, sometimes you take a boat to Batam, Bintan, sometimes you drive across a causeway. So there are different ways of connecting. But we do need connectivity in order for us to have an exciting and enjoyable journey. So I think growing economy is like traveling. It's like going on a journey. So gutsy, that's what we say our economic strategy is going to be.
Thanks, DPM, for that nice analogy. I think people will remember that, because I guess we all like to travel, and especially about to Japan. I recall going to Japan, and it's like I can see Singaporeans everywhere. Yeah, I can hear the accent. Yeah, I think we want to move on to something that the young people are very interested in. It's more of a work-life balance, or rather work-life harmony. Yeah, I mean, it's something that, because for us, we do work from home, I think twice a week. Yeah, so there is some flexibility in that front. But I don't know about you, because since you are DPM, is this work-life harmony just a myth for you in your position? Do you actually, I can't imagine you having a work-life harmony.
Well, I think everyone can do their best to achieve a work-life balance. Sometimes even work can be enjoyable and relaxing. Let me give you an example. I always look at my work in the community as quite therapeutic sometimes. Because if you look at your community visits, having lunch with the residents as a chore, I think it's very hard to sustain. But I have lunch with my friends, with my family. When I go down to the community, have lunch with them, it's just having lunch with friends. So you don't find that having lunch with friends is a burden, right? You find having lunch with friends is a joy, it's getting to know people. So when I go down to have lunches with my residents, I will sometimes go from table to table and to just say hello to them, to get to know their family, and to encourage young people to have more children. This is very important for Singapore's future. But basically, I just want to know them And I also tell them stories of my family, of my children, and whatever, so that it's a two-way communication, and it's just like having a meal with friends. So I find that sometimes relaxing and therapeutic. And you, in between work, you can also find ways to relax, like coming to Mothership for interview is very relaxing. So it's part of my work-life balance. So I hope while working here, it's part of your relaxation.
Here, I told you how many times.
Great.
Working
It's
is,
fun.
it's fun, right? It's
So much
relaxing,
fun.
so much fun.
Yeah.
So, but I mean,
I
I don't hear any
myself.
more complaints on that front. Yeah.
I must say, increasingly, you're right that I think flexible work arrangement is something that we need to push harder. We can inject more flexibility into our work arrangement, but it doesn't mean that it's not binary between working from home and working from office. Different working hours is also one way. Like this morning, all of you came very early. Your colleagues still having breakfast or still in bed. Right? So I think I'm sure this flexible arrangement allow you to have a lot more flexibility. And in evening, I'm sure the boss will allow you to go home earlier to make up for the early start this morning. So I think it's a flexibility that we need to try our best to put in place. But of course, there are situations where you have meetings, you can't say, okay, I'll come half an hour later. Some things you need to, it's a give and take. So employees also have to know there are certain things that you cannot be flexible, but there are certain things that are flexible. The bosses have to understand and allow this give and take. I think this will make a workplace a better workplace, and eventually I hope that the productivity will go up, people will be more engaged, and you have time to adjust to your needs, family needs and social needs.
Talking about work-life harmony, right? You did say that talking to your residents is a way for you to also relax. But how do you actually find time for your own self and your own hobbies?
You just have to find time in between. Say, for example, when I was younger, when my children were young, one of my hobbies is to go for movies with my wife. We have to put our children to sleep, and then we go for midnight movies. And don't ask me what movies we watch, because it really didn't matter. And very often we fell asleep halfway through. But it's the time together, time alone, that was important. So I think that carried into my adult life, my political life. And even now, we try to find time in between to do things together, go for short holidays, for example. Sometimes I also do things on my own. For example, I do calligraphy from time to time. Not very often, and I'm not very good at it. So it's not the product that matters, it's the process. I don't know whether you know about calligraphy. In the good old days, we need to grind the ink block, right? And there's a purpose in doing that. And nowadays, it's a ready-made ink bottle, you just pour. As you grind the ink block, you begin to ponder on what you want to write, and you already have a phrase or the word in your mind you want to write this calligraphy. But at the same time, you also go through every stroke and how do you want each stroke to be executed. You think through as you grind. And it's not just about making the calligraphy perfect. The process allows you to actually infuse your emotions into your strokes later on. Because if you are very angry, very upset, something went wrong, you want to really, and your strokes will be very powerful, very strong, very angry. You can tell the anger in the strokes. But if you are just have a nice conversation with Mothership, when you go back, you find that your stroke will be very smooth, very flowing.
I wonder what the characters are.
Right? The character itself is not so important. Actually, it's in the strokes. So as you do that, you may spend 5-10 minutes. Actually, that's very therapeutic because it allows your emotions to be expressed, and it actually eventually goes into the strokes. So don't get me wrong, I'm not very good at calligraphy, so it's not presentable. Yeah, but as you do it, sometimes people, sometimes I give it to people, to my grassroots, to my residents. Sometimes I give it to as a fundraising. Some will say, "Oh, this one not so perfect." So I said, actually, the perfection is in the imperfection. If you really want to have a perfect calligraphy, a character, the best is download the fonts from the internet and you can print it out. That's really perfect. So art is like that, the calligraphy is like that. There will be some imperfection, and actually the perfection is really in the imperfection. So I think that's...
I got a sense they will use these reasons. But no, my work is like that. It's imperfect. No, but it's not. That's what you... You're not doing art.
So I will encourage you to learn. Calligraphy is very therapeutic. So sometimes half an hour in between meetings, I'll take out my kids. And I have a magic calligraphy pad. It's a water-based, so you use water to write. And when it dries up, it disappears, so you can write again. So that's the quick and fast way for you to do that. And because you don't have to prepare the ink, you don't have to prepare the paper, and you don't have to clean up the mess after that. So that's one way to have a very short, very quick therapy.
It sounds like a very complicated hobby. Do you have perhaps like a simpler hobby?
Sorry?
Like a simple hobby?
A simple hobby, watching movie with my wife.
Okay.
Now with Netflix, it's a bit harder.
Why is it harder?
Because we'll be stuck to Netflix rather than going to the movies. But we encourage people to think about going to the movies from time to time, because it is a place where your family members are not around. You are just with your spouse, your wife, or husband. And the time for two together is now very precious. And we should find time to do that. And sometimes I go on holidays with her alone without family members. And it's sort of maybe the 15th honeymoon or 20th honeymoon. So sometimes I will watch with my wife on Netflix at home while I'm clearing my email. And so in between, we'll watch a Netflix movie. And sometimes both of us will fall asleep while the movie continues. And when it finishes, I say, oh, finished, okay, very good. So don't ask me how the story ends.
But when you're at home, right, I mean, how do you actually properly switch off? I mean, because you did say that when you're watching movies, sometimes you're clearing your emails. But how do you actually get rid of work completely when you're at home?
It's very difficult. In the past, when you travel, you can still switch off because there's no more email. But now you have Wi-Fi on the plane. So even on the plane, it's very difficult. Yeah. So I remember many years ago, I was on a holiday on an island that has no Wi-Fi, no 4G, no any internet, no handphone. So I thought, oh, I can get away from my boss. I was still in the private sector then. Then little did I know that my boss called the front office and said, can you find Gan Kim Yong? He's staying in your hotel. Ask him to come to the front office. So he went to look for me in my room, asked me to go to the office and to answer the phone to deal with a business issue. Then he said, why don't you put a fax machine in your room so I can fax things to your room. I was having a holiday with my wife. So it's not easy to get away in today's world, but you just need to find 10 minutes, 15 minutes, wherever you can, just have a therapeutic moment, rest and recharge, and from time to time.
I think it's difficult also because PM will be texting at night also.
How early do you wake up actually?
Oh, I don't wake up that early, about 7 o'clock.
That's early for me. Yeah, that's quite early. Is that early for you?
No, I mean, I need to send my kids to school, so it's not early for me.
Right.
I must say that I have one very special gift, and I can sleep anywhere. So in between meetings, I can take 10 minutes nap in the office just to recharge, and even going from place to place. Sometimes my grassroots leader will drive, and we go in a group. I'll just take the 10 minutes and doze off, and I can even snore within the 10 minutes. So my grassroots are always amazed. It's such a short period, you can fall asleep and snore, happily away. So I think that's an important ability to be able to sleep.
This one I can also.
You can.
When I'm in army fatigues, right, I will just sleep everywhere. Anywhere, everywhere. I think Tarun will understand that. You just completely you can sleep anywhere.
And when you wake up, you can just continue where you left off. And even if you are talking halfway, you fell asleep, you wake up, you can continue the conversation.
I think I wanted to ask also, I mean, having a career that is so public, right? And now I think even more so, you know, as DPM. How do you deal with all the, I guess, the attention, the good and the bad?
Well, you just have to take it in its stride because it comes with part of the job. And sometimes it will be necessary to explain. Sometimes it may not be necessary because these are just sometimes opinions and you just let it be. But whenever it comes to facts that were wrong, it will be important to put out the right facts so that people don't misunderstand and to become misleading messages. So I think those we just have to calibrate very carefully. But as I said, sometimes it's not just the politicians, sometimes it's the family members. Especially those with younger children, they may be ridiculed in the school, or people, their classmates may laugh at them for whatever their parents have done as a politician. So I think I have sympathy for them, I empathize with them. So we always try our best to encourage them, support them. And from time to time, we meet their family members, encourage them and share with them what we do so that they see the purpose in our work. So I think it's important for us to engage even our family members.
I mean, speaking about children, I think, especially for yourself, when you entered politics like more than 2 decades ago, your kids are, I guess, pretty young. How old were they?
Some were one of them were in the primary school still, so they were very young.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I guess these are I think parents would call it the golden years, especially with the children growing up. That's when they are also more attached to their parents and all. So was it particularly tough for you to be kind of away from them and always trust into the public? You know, so like the public owns you more than them, you know?
Yeah, but you must not give your children and your family that impression that the public doesn't own me, and I'm still their father, I'm still a member of the family. And therefore, you need to make a deliberate effort to spend time with them. And as I said, for me, the blessing is that I come home more often than before. So even though they don't see me that often, but they know that I'm at home, I sleep at home. So in the morning when they go to school, I may still be sleeping, but they know I'm at home. So I think that's important for them. And every now and then you go for a holiday with them and you spend time with them. It doesn't matter how long or short the holiday is and what you do in the holiday, but the key is to really spend time together with them, to let them know that you still care about them. So I think that's the most important part. And from time to time, I do bring my children down to the community events where they were younger. Now they have their own programs on the weekend. But when they were younger, sometimes I do bring them down so they understand what I do.
I suppose now that you can look back to this more than 2 decades of experience, would you do it all over again? You know, if you are, say, young and there's a new candidate again, would you accept the job?
Well, let me put it this way. I seldom do this what if scenario because you can never tread the same path again, right? And if you made a different choice, the outcome may be very different, and you really don't know what the outcome would be. And you may end up the same spot anyway, so you will never know what the choices that you make, whether you make any difference. But since I've made a choice, I think the more important thing is to see where do I go from here. And I think this is something that we will always have to think about. What's going to happen in 5 years' time. But again, you can plan forward. But in life, after 65 years of life, one thing I learned is 5 years is a very long time. Many things can happen, and we can never know what's going to happen in 5 years' time. So in a way, we plan ahead, 5 years, 10 years. For Singapore, we plan 100 years. But at the same time, you live one day at a time. Make the full use of the time I'm here today, spending time with Mothership, and well, I hope in 5 years' time, I can be back in Mothership studio again.
Yeah.
If you still invite me,
Of course.
We won't move for 5 years. We'll be seated here. Yeah, just stay
so I can
here.
imagine now, your video will say 5 years later.
Yeah, I think we want to move on to the next section about connecting with youth. I think that's important. And DPM, you mentioned our future also. Just want to do it's more like a vibe check, lah. What the youth call it, vibe check. So shall I take it away, please? Since you are the youngest one.
Yes, but actually, Tarun and I, we're around the same age anyway. It's just you who, okay, never mind. Never mind.
Youth once.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Young and hard.
Never again. Okay, DPM, you have an Instagram account, right? Mm-hmm. Would you consider starting a TikTok account?
What's TikTok?
Oh no.
Just kidding.
Okay.
So I don't really know whether I'm going to start a TikTok. I've always been thinking about it, and my friends and community leaders and my staff have always asked me whether I want to start a TikTok. But I get your views. Maybe you can advise me. But my sense is that I am who I am now. So I want to be who I am, and it's very important for me to let people know who I am. I'm not quite a TikTok person. I must say that I'm not even 4G. I'm very clearly maybe 3.5. Right? So therefore, it's quite clear that I should not pretend to be who I'm not. So I will try to do my best in my Instagram. I'm still on Facebook. If you know what Facebook is.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
So when I asked some of the younger people, they did the same thing to me, saying, "What's Facebook?" Right. So I try to do my best. Maybe you can tell me how can I better engage the young people? Is TikTok the must-have to engage the young people?
I would say so. Actually, for TikTok, you can create an account on anything. If you want to start a calligraphy account also, that's possible.
Oh, really?
And just teach people about calligraphy.
I can't teach. As I said, my product is very bad. It's not the product, it's the process.
Can show your growth. I think people will be engaged by that. DPM calligraphy.
Calligraphy talk.
Calligraphy talk.
But is it a pain for you to start all these social media accounts? Because I guess in 2001, there's no such thing as Facebook,
But I think things change, things move on. And during my time, we didn't have WhatsApp. SMS was quite new even. Yeah, so you can imagine life without WhatsApp was a lot more peaceful. So you don't have to wake up first thing in the morning, grab your handphone, see what's WhatsApp messages, and spend half an hour in bed trying to clear all the WhatsApp, right? So I know our habits, but in those days we didn't have. But it's technology, it moves on, and you just have to get used to it. So I'll think about TikTok, but I would imagine, hopefully there are other avenues to engage the youth as well, and not just through social media and physical engagement. Of course, the surface of contact is much smaller. But it is, I would imagine it's a bit more in-depth. So I have dialogues with young people, not just young people, with residents, and among them there will be young people. As I said, I go down to have lunch and events with them. I sit down, spend time, and not just hello, goodbye, but to talk about their aspirations, what they are concerned about, their housing needs, their jobs, and their worries about the future. So I think this way you get to know them, and also at the same time allow them to know you. So I think this mode of engagement, it's very archaic, has been there since time immemorial, but I think it is still a very effective way for a more in-depth engagement. Of course, social media is another platform. As you said, I have Instagram, and I'll think about TikTok. Okay. Maybe you can teach me how to do TikTok.
Ooh, okay. And then you're talking about receiving WhatsApp messages. So now I'm very curious. Do you have a WhatsApp group with DPM Heng and PM Wong?
We have many Group chats, sometimes we went to the wrong group, as you probably have experienced, because different issues, different topics, we usually will form, it's now so convenient, form a group chat to discuss issues collectively. It replaces physical meetings sometimes, and when it comes to a decision time, maybe we'll call a meeting, but before that, views, exchanges, and so on will be a lot easier if it is on WhatsApp. So we do have different groups with DPM Heng, with PM, with SMs, and even with the civil servants. We have different groups to talk of different things.
Right. So there's no specific group just for the three of you?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So DPM, sorry to interject. I think young people these days would like to see more political contestation also. I mean, I think the diversity of ideas, opinions, and all to be represented also. I think on that front, of course, being the government, I think it's a bit hard to. Sometimes you need to make, hard decisions, right? Could the People's Action Party, could you, in a way, do better for at least especially for the younger people? I understand that, especially for PM's NDR, I think it was very youth focused. Is that the start of something new?
Well, in a way it is, because as a political party, we hope we are not here just for one term, and not even for 2 terms. We are here for the long term, and therefore in the long term it's really about the youth, because the future belongs to them. In time to come, we all fade away, and we need to make sure that we have a resilient and strong and founded Singapore for them to inherit. And then we hope that they will bring Singapore to greater heights for their future generation. So I think this is something that we will continue to build. And therefore it's very important for political parties to engage the young people, to talk to them, understand their aspirations, but also to share with them our thinking with the benefit of our experience, and how they can prepare for the future. And they can then also progressively prepare to take over the helm at Singapore and to lead Singapore forward. And this process is very important because even if you have very good ideas, there will always be risks, there will always be trade-offs, and no ideas is guaranteed with the success. As I mentioned, even joining politics has no guarantee. So we need to understand what are the trade-offs, what are the downside risks, and make sure that even as you implement new ideas, good ideas, you are ready and prepared for the downside, and how to minimize the potential fallout if things do go wrong. So this is an important process of engagement and sharing. It's not just one way, and the young people giving us ideas, but at the same time, we also share with them our ideas, alternative solutions, and what are the trade-offs that we need to consider very carefully, and so that we can come to a considered decision. So I think this is a process, and the process will continue, and with the refreshed PAP that we've just gone through, and the Forward SG that Prime Minister Wong headed, this is part of the process of building a new social compact, and a better understanding and a stronger sense of unity and identity, so that we can forge our future together. So I think this is a very important part of the process, and we are very happy to have the young people come forward, talk to us, share with us your views, your ideas, and also keep an open mind, also allow us to share with you our experience and our ideas, and we can come together to decide what would be good for Singapore, good for you, and for your future generations too.
So DPM on that, right? I think he spoke about the refresh, the party refresh, for Singapore. I guess humans are just like that. I think there's never enough. I want better results. I want better everything. My life must be better. So in this sense, do you think? I think the PAP. Do you think the party could do better also to match up with this evolution of voters' needs and wants?
I think the desire to do better, to want better, is not wrong, because that's the motivation, the engine for change, for innovation, for progress. If you don't want to be better, then you'll be stuck where you are. So you do want to be better, but at the same time as we want to be better, we need to really come down to the hard work of how to be better? What can we do to be better? And there will always be efforts that you need to put in so that you can be better. Things don't get better just because you want it to be better. So there will be efforts that we have to come together, work together, and you may need to work hard so that we can achieve progress, that we can have a better future. And that actually is the PAP message as well, that we do want Singapore to be better, we want the party to be better, but that involves a lot of hard work. It's not just a slogan to be better, but it really involves a lot of hard work, a lot of planning. And even as you plan, as you embark on this journey to be better, you must also be prepared to be confronted with the obstacles and challenges along the way. The journey will never be a smooth one. And from time to time, you may need to adjust your direction. Maybe once in a while, you need to take a bypass, an alternative route, so as to continue to progress. But it's important to set the broad direction that we do want to progress, and what direction do we want to progress, and have a plan to get there, but be prepared, be flexible enough to always adjust the plan as you go along. It's just like COVID-19 was very clear. Prime Minister then, Mr. Lee Hsien Loong, made it very clear. We want to minimize unnecessary loss of lives. We want to protect lives and also to preserve our livelihood. Because after that, if the whole economy is destroyed, it's very difficult to come back again. So therefore, it's important to save lives and save livelihoods. And therefore, that was our priority. But with that, we can't just say, okay, let's go and save life and save livelihood and do what you want. So we still need to work out a plan, and the plans were very challenging, very difficult, and you can see from time to time we do have to change direction, change our policy, because things change and things evolve, and we must always be prepared to adjust as we go along. So, what is very important, even with the experience of COVID-19, is that we must bring the people together. We must unify the people, have a shared vision, shared cause, and a common objective. And ideas may be different. The path that we decide to take, or we prefer to take, may be different, but we arrive at the same place. And there will be challenges, whichever path you take. Then we have to decide which one is a collective decision that we all move together. And this way, then we can overcome the challenges together.
I think on that note, we want to move on to, I guess, your working style and your and working with peers. I think Tarun has a burning question that he always... Yeah.
So on the topic of COVID-19, you came up with the term circuit breaker, and I presume this is inspired by your engineering background, which is fairly rare in the cabinet. As far as I'm aware, the only other engineer in the cabinet is Mr. Hong Tat. Do you think the background of the political office holders is diverse enough?
Well, first I must debunk the myth that I created the term circuit breaker. It didn't come from me. And as to who came up with the term, it shall remain a mystery. I'll let you continue to guess who came up with the term. But as to education background, I think I'm an engineer, Mr. Chi is an engineer, Prime Minister is economist, but we all come from different backgrounds. Prime Minister came from Haig Boys, I came from Catholic High. He turned out very okay, I turned out still quite okay, I hope. So not as okay as him, but I think still quite okay. And we have some commonalities and we have differences. Let me just give you maybe a trivial example. We are all musicians. PM Lawrence Wong plays guitar, right? Minister Chi Hong Tat sings. He sings quite well. I was in the choir, but I must tell you, I can't play an instrument and I can't sing. I'm a narrator in a choir. So we are all in a way same, but different. So we bring common experiences, we also bring different experiences. For a start, I was born in the 50s, they were all born in the 70s, so the difference is already there. And there are more engineers in cabinet than the two of us. So you just have to search through. I think there are also other science-based. Dr. Heng is a doctor. So we have enough diversity, and our life journey are all very different. So we bring to the table not just our education background, but our entire life journey experience to contribute to the cabinet.
Would you consider starting a band?
I was
So cool. Yeah, one day
I may be able to do the drum.
PM Wong and the cabinet.
We might think about forming a trio between Lawrence, PM Lawrence, Minister Chi, and myself. I will do the announcement, and the guitar and the other will sing.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
yeah.
Looking forward to that on Spotify though. Yeah. DPM, I want to ask you about your working style. I think different bosses have a different, I think working philosophy, and I just also wonder how does your style complement PM style?
I don't really have a fixed working style. In my mind, I always think that how you work depends on who you're working with, the environment that you are working with, the context you're working in. Say in a crisis situation like COVID-19, you have to be very decisive, decide and go. You consult, you get views, but you need to just move ahead. In a ministry, for example, is less sort of decide and go, more consultative, more listening to ideas. And sometimes you also want to allow the younger officers to give it a try. Some ideas may be not fully hatched, may not be very sure it will work, but let them try, so long as you're quite clear that it's not going to lead to a major disaster. Sometimes it didn't work out, but it's also through these failures that you learn. And I think you have to have different style in different contexts. It's not easy and impossible just have one single style and try to bulldoze your way through. Going back to the analogy of traveling, I travel very often now in my current portfolio. So, I love Chinese food, and everywhere I go, I look for Chinese food. But sometimes it's also quite silly. If you go to US, you look for Chinese food. You go to Japan, you look for Chinese food. You go to France, you look for Chinese food. Then the staff will be wondering, sir, do you really want to have Chinese food? This is Paris, So, in fact, a part of the journey is really to taste the local cuisine and understand and appreciate the local culture. And so every now and then, every time when I travel, I always try the local food, especially in the first few days, immerse in the local culture. Towards the end of the journey, you always miss your home cooked food. So you go back to Chinese food, sometimes hawker food, sometimes tapao, sometimes a quick meal, but you always like the familiarity. So I think working style is like that. You can't just have one style and try to fit everything. Then your experience will be very limited, your effectiveness will be very limited, and if you are able to adapt wherever you go, look at the context and make the maximum out of where you are, and your style must therefore adapt according to what you do and where you are and who you are working with.
Yeah, I guess it's just important to try to gel with each other and all these things. So on that, who do you work best with in the cabinet? Like your favorite, almost like a BFF kind of thing. Hey, there's very good chemistry and all. You all can kind of finish each other's sentences.
Well, I must say I work well with everybody, and I can work with all of them, and there are different levels of rapport with different people, and also again, depending on the context, we have different wavelengths, but it's the diversity that sometimes is very important in a cabinet, and we do want to have different views. Even in the Ministry for Health, for example, I'm no longer Minister for Health, but I've spent 10 years there, so I can talk to Minister Ong Kang quite well in terms of Ministry of Health related matters, and whatever he said before he finished, I know what he's going to say. But it also means that we have different ideas. With a new minister, I think the value of a new minister is that you are not frozen in time in your views and ideas and your plans. So he come up with new plans, new ideas. Healthier SG, for example, started by him, and I fully support that approach and strategy. So we discuss, we talk to each other, and we also debate with one another. We agree, don't agree. But I think that's the value of a debate in the cabinet. So I think I can work well with almost everyone, in fact everyone. Ministries that I've worked in before will be easier because of the experience. Even with Minister Tan Si Ling, I was manpower minister before. Of course, that's many years ago, more than a decade ago. So my understanding of the landscape has changed. Right? Now it's very different. So I debate with him and discuss with him, and also share with him some of the background, why certain things were done certain ways, and therefore that's taken into account in formulating new policies, so that the new policies will be more effective and more comprehensive.
So I think we also want to, I guess, conclude this interview with something more future, I think, focus and looking, right? Tarun, you have some questions on that front.
What would you say is your vision for Singapore?
Well, when it comes to Singapore, it's a very serious issue. And for us, and for the party, and for the government, Singapore's future is very important. But we also recognize that the world is becoming very, very complicated. You have competition and contestation among big powers, between countries, between regions, and it's going to be a big challenge for countries like Singapore. We are very small, we are an open economy, so we can never imagine to be insulated from all these big forces and mega trends. But despite these challenges and risk and difficulties and complexity, it's important for Singapore to be quite clear that we want to chart our own direction. We can never allow Singapore, despite our smallness, to be our future to be decided by other people. They will try to influence us. They will try to force us to take a stand, take sides, make a decision. But we always must make decisions in Singapore's interest. We must have our own views, decide on our own future. And given that we are very small, we are open, the only way for us to do that, for our voices to be heard, for our future to be determined by ourselves, is for our people to stay united. Our unity is really our biggest asset, our biggest capital in deciding our future. And if we can stay together, I think we will see a brighter future for Singapore for many more generations to come.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.